What's up, Magic Nerds? Today we are building Tinybones the Pickpocket, which was spoiled in the Outlaws of Thunder Junction set. He's a one-drop mono-black skeleton rogue with Death Touch, and reads, whenever Tinybones deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. The fact that he is a one-drop is nice, but we won't have stuff to grab from our opponent's graveyards right away at the beginning of the game. We'll need to find ways to quickly fill our opponent's graveyards with discard and mill abilities. We want to keep the mana cost of these cards low so we can take advantage of Tinybones right away. Cards like Eye Collector, Hypnotic Spectre, and Dreamstealer are affordably priced options that will be key to quickly filling our opponent's graveyards. We can also have some higher cost spells, but we won't really be relying on them as our main engine. Next up, let's slot in plenty of removal, as this will be our secondary way of guaranteeing targets for Tinybones' ability. We don't need to get too fancy here. Cards like Doomblade, Infernal Grasp, and Innocent Blood will be good here. It gets creatures out of the way for Tinybones to get in for damage and also makes for great targets for his triggered ability. After we have established the meat of the deck with discard and removal options, let's give Tinybones some equipments and auras, because we know we are going to be swinging. Obviously, Sword of Feast and Famine would be killer in this deck, though not a budget option. Let's include Whisper Silk Cloak, Silver Shroud Costume, Sword of Sinew and Steel, and Skeletal Grimace as some initial protection options. They give a nice combination of evasion and protection to keep Tinybones around to trigger his ability. We want to give Tinybones plenty of ways to get in, so more unblockable options could include Skeleton Key and Trailblazer's Boots, though are obviously not going to keep him alive. Our win cons of the deck are going to be other people's creatures that we have managed to force into their graveyard by discarding, milling, and destroying. We can also throw in cards like Rise of the Dark Realms and Bloodchief Ascension in case it's truly up to our deck to provide the win con. Our secret stars of the deck are going to Rankle, Master of Pranks, and Rogue's Passage. Rankle is a 4-drop fairy that upon dealing combat damage to a player can force all players to discard cards, draw cards, and sack creatures. Because his effect is upon combat damage, any tricks we have up our sleeve for Tinybones are going to also be useful for Rankle, and he is going to synergize quite nicely with the theme of the deck. Rogue's Passage is going to be a nice way to sneak in for damage to trigger Tinybones and other damage effects in the deck. Unless your playgroup is heavy on land removal, this will be a great way to guarantee those effects. So what cards come to mind for this build for you? There are likely a multitude of directions you could take it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more Commander builds.